Hello and welcome to the Collector's Corner, the podcast that demystifies art collecting with me, Antonia Piersanti. In today's episode, I'm sitting down with my friend Vanessa Mauz. Vanessa and I, we've known each other for a few years now. We used to work together at a fintech startup, but she has fully left the finance industry and co-founded an art members club called A.R.C, whose aim is to make the art world more accessible. A young collector herself, Vanessa has experienced firsthand that without connections, it's very difficult to find your way into the art world. She talks about that, about her journey and how she persisted. Connecting with new people is actually her superpower. So she has now built a pretty impressive network of contacts in the German art scene and really wants to help others on their own art journey. I really love how much Vanessa is driven by building a community and bringing people together to make the art world less intimidating. It's something that really resonates with me personally. I leave you to discover our conversation, and I hope you enjoy it. Hello, Vanessa. How are you?
Good, many thanks. Great to have you here.
Thank you for joining me. Thank you for having me in your flat, surrounded by your art. And we're here in Berlin, where you're from originally. But you only moved back 4 years ago after several years in Frankfurt because you've worked your whole career in finance sales across all asset classes. However, recently you pivoted to launching your own business in the art industry. It's called A.R.C, A.R.C, and it's a members club for art lovers. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later, which I'm really looking forward to. You don't come from a collector's family originally, but you are super passionate about arts and you started collecting actively 5 years ago. Since then, you've been very active acquiring works and you regularly attend events, dinners, shows. You have a big network of contacts across the industry. And your collection includes some iconic contemporary artists here in Germany. So Malte Zensers, Flora Klein, Jana Schröder, and recently you added Gidi Tal, I think, also to your collection. I'm really excited to hear more about your collecting journey. I think your point of view, in my opinion, is quite unique about the industry and the ecosystem, especially because you've been told, I believe, many times you are one of the few young female collectors here in Berlin. So I would love to start with a story maybe about your first artwork that you purchased, what that was like, what it was, and how it felt for you.
I think the first artwork was, I have to concentrate because there was a time where I did a lot of Art Basel with my friend Tobias. I think you also have him on the podcast. Then, yeah, I saw it as part of, my travels. I was visiting him. He has a house across at the German side near Basel. And I was just doing the fair for, let's say, 3, 4 years. And at some point, I think, yeah, I had this thing where I'm like, yeah, it just came me. I need to buy something. I feel like I'm doing that. I had basically before that, I borrowed a painting from my dad. He was not, or he is not really a collector. I think my family had more paintings in terms of they put something on the walls without really like a strategy, and they through the people they got to know people, and like they maybe eventually saw them something. But for me, this was more a very structured process of like, yeah, at the Liste, which I feel it's a very important fair for especially emerging artists, but also galleries, of course.
So Liste, which happens at the same
It's the
time
same
as
time
Art
as
Basel, yeah.
it's the fair, which is parallel to the Art Basel. I mean, there's so much going on these days at Basel Social Club and so on. But List is for me a very important fair with a very, very high quality. And yeah, I bought I think that's it. Sophia Levy from Sweetwater, Lucas Casso. Yeah, I think that's it. And then I bought 2 other paintings. I think like similar to at the same time, but I think that was the first one. I don't really remember. That was hard because I bought like a little drawing from Malte before. I think there was like an entry, and then let's say the first oil painting.
Mm-hmm. So that the first one was the one you bought at Liste.
Yes.
And why that one?
Something which just happens, and I feel just this is it, and without doing a lot of research, I just had like I just saw a lot, and I felt this was my entry work.
Was the
I
gut
would,
feeling?
yeah, yes. And I think this also fits my character. A lot of things I do is gut feeling. I think there are things to consider. Like I always thought that yes, when it is from a gallery I know, like a gallery is also exhibiting internationally on fairs. It's like a proof of concept, I would say, to a certain extent. I always look at the age of the artist. It was one of my criteria that like the artist is more or less my age. So like collecting your generation, which was one of my topics for one of my things. I followed my approach there.
Is that what mainly drives your approach to collecting them? So
Correct.
collecting artists from
Mhm.
your
Yes.
generation. Why?
First, I want to support this generation. I feel kind of connected. One of my approaches that I know the artist was one of my ideas that I grow up like it's the same thing when when we get to know each other and we are like in this certain step of our career that we grow and we rank or like we are rising the ranks together. I always said to my colleagues back in the finance industry, especially when we had this kind of girls group and we're like, yeah, let's just stick together. The same thing I believe for the relationship between collectors and also the artists that you're growing together. Yeah, maybe friends, you know each other, then and yeah, supporting each other. So if I support somebody early in their career, or let's say in my age, hopefully I'm like in contact with them maybe in 20 years time. I think this idea I really liked.
Yeah, on doing it's basically going on a journey together, right?
Kind of,
Yeah.
yeah.
I like that idea of collecting a new generation also because you know that on some level you will have experienced events similarly. Not exactly the same, of course, because
Yes.
everybody's different and everybody comes from different
Yes.
circumstances, but you're going through major events at the
Yeah.
same time.
It's nice that you say that because at Basel Fair I met Isadora Vogt, also one of the artists from my works. And she, for example, just was pregnant with her first child and now she did like a baby pause and her gallery closed and things are like that, like like things were also of course like topics we are talking about. You just got your second child and so on. So yes, like it's nice to connect with these from artists also on topics you're of course have your thoughts about. Yeah.
You mentioned also that you went to Art Basel for the first time with your friend Tobias,
Hmm.
whom I am having on the podcast today and I'm very excited about. So he obviously has played a really big role in your in introducing you to art and also in your journey as a collector.
Yes.
How important has it been for you to surround yourself, well, with people, who know better, basically, who guide you, Tobias being one of them?
Yeah, what I really admired or aspired when I saw that, like he walked over the Art Basel knowing everybody. He was connected. He lived in Basel for many years and he grew up with that, having major galleries, major museums on site. And I was like, yeah, wow, this is a really, really great group of people. And yeah, I was always the person who loved social contacts. I love like networking, this art world with all these stakeholders. Yeah, it was so bustling and so interesting and it really touched me. And I saw that like Tobias got information from different people and invitations and yeah, I just said, "Oh, this is great. I really want to dig into that." And yeah, like buying a piece of work and like a piece of art gave me the chance to do so. Also, I always believed in this having different inputs in life from different people and being again in Frankfurt in this international village, I would say, which I loved, and I met great people on my way there. But it's like, yeah, I was like missing a bit of like a different input, maybe a little bit of this cultural world, and I saw that like being on the art fairs, and it was just like digging into a different like world. I wanted to make art part of my lifestyle. I knew that it's
Mhm.
just not like, okay, of course, first it was more I wanted to also have like nice paintings on my wall. I really was always into interior. It was important for me that I have a nice flat where, I feel comfortable in. But then it was also I want to integrate it into my life as a hobby. So where I feel like art fairs and going to galleries and all this should be part of my life because I'm doing it together with friends, together with family. I don't know, I'm combining that. And I feel this is where also my approach was. I look at stuff, I see a lot, I talk to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people who also know much more than me, even after many years. And they and together you have great influence and you learn every day from other people. And that's why also I founded art because next to having all the art specialists and having all the advisors and really like great people who know art history inside out, I don't. So the community aspect, and that was also for me very important because I love communities anyway. I love networks, and I had good networks, but it was just not in the art world. I wanted to do something else, and then I made my way to Berlin. And here, you don't have really this traditional financial industry. And I tried some startups and venture capital, and I felt like, no, that's maybe not. And then last year, I had a little bit of like a break where I brainstormed. I mean, we talked, and then yeah, eventually I know also Sabine, my co-founder from Art Basel, and it was just maybe a destiny that we run into each other, and we had the same idea. She got a baby, and then we talked again this year and said, okay, now or never. We just have to follow up this idea, and yeah, we are launching our first events mid of this month, and yeah, hopefully we can create more of this passionate collectors like I made it to.
That's super exciting. And there's obviously a website, right? And you can sign up
Yes.
for the event.
And we
First
have an
is Berlin.
Instagram, we have LinkedIn.
First is Berlin.
First Berlin and then Frankfurt. We have then Cologne and then Munich.
Nice. Awesome. So why do you collect?
I mean, as I said, like first I was thinking, yeah, paintings are part of your interior. And then I think it's much more. Why was more again that like I really thought this word is amazing. Collecting gave me the chance to again dig into this world because I'm not a curator, I'm not a gallerist. Like, what should I do? Like, where's the entry point? And I wanted to understand this world. And on my budget back then, I said, okay, I have to start somewhere. Like, my budget is limited. Like, I don't have a trust fund where I'm like, oh, just buy paintings from. But I really wanted this additional hobby or let's say theme in my life.
And what does it bring you? What does it bring to your life?
Joy, passion, emotion. It's amazing. Like not only that gallerists who are like hardworking. It's a tough time right now. Artists who are totally living a different life often to what we are used to in
Mm.
the business world. But then also our peers, the other collectors, young collectors who are also like, you know, on a budget, building up their collection. Amazing. Like, but also very experienced collectors where you look up to them like, wow, this is like amazing. We will also show a very nice collection when we have our events in Frankfurt. Amazing house, perfect art, fits everything. Like, Karina, again, she did brunches. I looked at her perfect art with like perfect color from Ferrenbor in each of the rooms. These are things where like you also get inspired and you're like, okay, you see like often they are like much longer in the game than you, but it's again very inspiring.
Mm.
I really love to exchange with other people. They tell me about names, about artists. I think you cannot read everything. And of course, you can study quietly in your room, but I'm more the person who just looks at a lot of stuff. I go to a lot of events. I mean, Art Week is coming up, but it's starting actually tonight, where the first galleries are having dinners. And that's where I meet people, and these people tell me things. And yeah. then I can research and I can look up stuff. But
So you mentioned that you're mostly driven then by obviously connections, talking to people, gut feel as well.
mhm.
So at what point do you decide, oh, this is an artwork, or I would really like to add to my collection?
Sometimes I just know it immediately, and I decide. I mean, I was like at Art Basel again at the Liste with two of my artist friends, and we walked by, and I was thinking, this is a very nice painting. And then we went into the the water and we had a swim, and I was like, yeah, this is still in my mind. And I don't know, and maybe the confidence that the other artists also said this is a very good quality of, or like, yeah, very good quality of work. But then decided within 2 hours, and then other works were like, okay, I don't want to buy this anything. I kind of like reach my budget this year, but then this artwork doesn't go out of my mind, and I'm thinking, oh no, it's still in there, and I feel okay. Maybe I need to go back and have a look. Yeah, and it takes, I don't know, a few weeks, so it really depends.
So you let it like sit a little bit in your mind, see if you still think about it, but
Sometimes,
it's
but
very much
sometimes,
okay.
but on fairs often. And fairs, you're also more pressured of like, okay, now the fair is like a few days and then they take it back and you're like, okay, sometimes the gallery is not in your city. I think then let's say the decision is pressured a bit more by the fact that, the fair is there and also other people come, and sometimes I take more time, but
Yeah,
I don't really, it doesn't, I mean, sometimes I don't sleep over something, and
yeah,
I decided very impulsively, like I
that's cool. So you're on a budget, right? I mean, as in you set a
yes.
budget. How?
I mean, like, I have to stick at some point to the budget also, coming from, let's say, asset management, and I always invested a lot, or not a lot, but I invested my savings in stocks, and I did that well. I did more before we had a lot of compliance stuff, and then I was like too lazy and just left the money in the bank account. But of course, I invested less in stocks. I invested actually nearly my whole bonus, and recently in, I like when I still work for financial institutions in art, yeah. Or I sold stocks in order to buy art. Now it's like this point where, of course, I'm also on this point of founding my own company, and it's a different income you have, especially at the beginning.
Yeah, you say that, but you mentioned
It's
earlier
an
before we
addiction. I mean,
started.
everybody you will interview, it's an addiction, and it's a good addiction, but it's still an addiction. So even though I told myself not to buy something because I'm, in a way of, getting, oh, I'm self-employed now, and we're founding, and I don't have this like fixed income right now. I bought very little works because I said, okay, but I need to buy something. And then, of course, it was like below 2,000 euros. And then, yeah, I bought my second. I mean, I never bought in installments. And now I bought like a work in installments. So it's fine. Like, you're also changing your habits, which is fine
Yeah,
because that's okay.
of
You,
course.
you adapt your buying habits too.
Yeah, I think that's amazing that you're able to continue while being a little bit more mindful and knowing that there's different ways of
Yes.
acquiring work, like you say, paying in installments or maybe going for smaller pieces or
Yeah.
different mediums. So
Yeah, smaller sizes. And again, I think that's part of changing your job from being, employed to being self-employed, or, starting your own company. And we, of course, we need to build this up. But one of the main, say, motivations I have to make money with our entrepreneur sister, our consulting, is to buy art again. This is one of the main reasons I really also need to make money, because I want to put this money into the market again and buy art.
awesome.
Yeah.
So okay, so you like a painting, you think about it a little bit or not. So there's very much a direct sort of connection, emotion
Mm.
with the work, attached with the work. What else do you consider before you buy that perhaps somebody who's thinking about buying has never done it before should also keep in mind?
It's very personal for me. It's a triangle of the gallerist, the art work itself, or the piece of art, and the artist. So, of course, first level, I think you need to like the artwork. I sometimes know the artist, or sometimes I don't. But if I know the artist and I really like him,
You
this
said that's quite important for you, right?
yes, for me it's
To move
important.
the
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
to meet the
yeah,
artist.
yeah,
Yeah.
and to talk to him or her, to know her thoughts, to just whatever you have like this feeling, have a conversation. It could be short. Then gallerists, I need to have a connection with the gallerist too. If I don't feel that the gallerist is somebody I want to work with, I don't buy an artwork. It also never happened that I really like something and I don't like the gallerist. But sometimes I even know that I have some gallerists I really like, and I feel like if they have the right work, I will buy something there
I was gonna
because
ask that. Yeah.
there's also like you continue you're in this world and you make friends, and these are also gallerists, like, and of course gallerists who are arrogant, which happens. I remember the first years, or let's say the year where I still, right, who I am on the Art Basel world, especially on the ground floor. They don't know you. They think you're like I was there on a tourist day. You just like,
So the ground floor is all
like the ground
the
floor is
blue
like
chip
where the
galleries. Yeah.
Picassos
Yeah.
and like
Okay.
the Baselists and the Warhols and yeah, Basquiat's are hanging. Yeah, every gallery who's at Art Basel is already a well-known
Mhm.
gallery. It's like the stalls are expensive. Like they have to go through like an application process or are in there for many years, which also gives everybody a certain security of if they buy there, they know, like they will not, like the galleries will not take on some random artists. It's all a little bit more filtered. Even
Mhm.
at Liste, there's a jury who you have to apply every year with like your artist, with the program and so on. But yes, they often they're like, "Who are you?" Like they're like collectors. They're well known, and of course, this is the top creme de la creme the of the art world. So yes, but like especially when you have this feeling of like you don't need to get along with everybody, but I think the relationship has to be good on every of these three levels, right? In terms of artwork, artists, and gallerists. Yeah.
So the gallerist is important in terms of the relationships you have with them, but you
Hmm.
also trust their advice on that
Yeah.
basis.
Trust is
And
important.
yeah,
Also, that the gallerist has a big responsibility of guiding the artist, of supporting him or her along the career. Um, I mean, it's hard to get the prices right, to push them into institutional places, or to institutions and to the right collections. Just it's a lot of management.
yeah, for
So
sure.
thinking about like a musician, they all have managers, and the gallery is the manager of the artist,
Yeah, that makes
and
tons of
next
sense.
to everything else. Yeah, and of course trust is important. Yeah.
So it's been steep learning curve in the past 5 years.
Yes.
You learned a lot, met a lot of people, quite a lot of arts. So you probably also have some lessons that
Hmm.
you can share from that journey.
Hmm.
Especially, I'm curious to hear what you wish you knew before you started collecting.
Okay. I mean, there there is a lot of learnings or experiences. I think I'm not a very shy person. The people who know me, they know. But I was intimidated, and I was actually, and this doesn't happen a lot of times, I was actually afraid of asking questions in galleries, at the fair, because I'm like, oh, I don't know. I mean, is it stupid to ask from who is this painting? Maybe he's a famous artist and I just don't know. And I thought everybody is a specialist except me. And that's actually an illusion. And I would say the fact that a lot of people, even specialists or even people who work in this industry for many years, they don't know everything. And even collectors who are collecting for many, many more years than me, they don't know everything. And they ask questions. So I would say that's a thing, like just, and that's also what we want to actually promote, is that we want to like lower the barrier of this. Like sometimes people think it's an elitist, exclusive world, but it's not, because everybody is a collector. Like you don't, I mean, against what Boris said, you don't need to have a storage room in order to be called a collector. It, it doesn't matter how high your budget is, as long as you're collecting with passion and this is part of your life. Yeah, I think you have a big right to be there. And sometimes I feel we need, like, yeah, this is also part of what I found at ARC. We need new voices. We need new people coming into this world, because again, I see a lot of the same faces, which is nice on one hand, but on the other hand, like we could open up this world so many more people, because look how happy this whole thing or like topic makes me. And I feel I could take people under my hand and like show them this world. And I think this is where I also maybe made my decision to do this for professionally, because this actually makes me much happier than maybe selling a fund to an insurance company. Not that it wasn't, I mean, I had great clients, but I saw that with a friend of me from Frankfurt. And she started to come with me to fairs, and then she started to collect. And she was so happy. She called me before Art Cologne and said, Vanessa, I can't wait. And I'm so exciting. Maybe I miss day one, but I see you on day two. And she was more excited than me. And I'm like, wow. And this was just this fire I lighted. So this was the point where I'm like, wow, this gives me so much happiness. I really want this. Of course, it's much insecure than what I did before. And it takes a while to build something up. But yeah, if I would not try it now, I would always maybe regret not to try it. So yeah, I want to, and that's why I think also it's amazing what you do. We need to show people this world. And people asked me the other day, I'm like, yeah, send me the top 5 podcasts, what you would like recommend me to in order to get my head around art, which books. And even me, I struggle to recommend the right books or recommend podcasts, because many of the podcasts they really specialize on a certain
They're
subject.
quite specialist. Yeah.
Yeah, so I like the fact that you kind of like interview the people and yeah, open up to collectors and
It's
people.
similar to what you said earlier, which is you really need to talk to people who are doing it or who have been doing it for a little while, because they introduce you to new artists,
Mhm.
maybe new gallerists, or just new ways of looking at art, or even just a way of looking
Mm.
at art if you don't know where to start. Um, so it's a journey that I think you're right is a lot more accessible than you
Mm.
think. But there is that insecurity and maybe fear also attached with walking into a gallery. And even if you want to ask a question, you know, worried it might be a dumb question, it might come across as unsophisticated. Sometimes you don't even have a question to ask.
You don't need to ask questions. There's lots of openings and open, like even if you look at the paintings or the photographs, you're like, okay, fine, you get the impression, but then like you don't understand. And there's an idea, and it's also this is why people work in galleries, to actually to explain the story behind. I know there are always leaflets, nobody reads it, they're too long. I don't know, I understand, like even
I
if you,
read them, but I don't
yeah,
always
but also
understand them.
sometimes you read them and then you don't understand. So last time I went to this gallery and I had to look up like 10 words because they were so specific, and like it doesn't make sense. I sometimes, when I don't have time and I go quickly through like an exhibition, especially also in museums, I photograph like the texts, and sometimes afterwards I'm reading that again. You know, last time I went to this opening from US Jacoby's supermarket, and there was a photographer, and like the idea of these photographers was that every of these photographies had a mistake, and that was the story. But it wasn't that obvious, but only when he told me this, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. But you need to ask, otherwise you will not understand. And again, the people who work in galleries and are there to answer questions.
Mm.
I was in Stuttgart the other day at Rijksmuseum Kunstmuseum Stuttgart, and I wish I had Sabine, my co-founder, on my side, because she could put stuff into context.
She's an art advisor.
Yeah,
right?
she's not. She studied art, and she's like amazing. And it's a different experience because I was in Basel with her in this museum, and it's just a different experience with her, especially museums where you have so many different paintings from different artists, from different epochs, and also, how they are put together, and you just don't understand. So this is hard. Maybe, I was thinking of having more guided tours or something.
Yeah.
But again, this is what we want to do because we want to take people and just say, okay, it's not just going to a museum, but more also understanding the art. And then obviously next to that is that we want to implement art collection, or like collecting art as a lifestyle, I would say, as it was for me, or I saw other people left, right, and center.
Yeah. Okay, so if I'm a new collector, I want to become a collector or get started with collecting. I sign up for A.R.C, but how else should I
Join
spend
our
my time?
events, sign up for for the membership, and then we give input and content. Go to fairs, go to openings of galleries, just look at a lot of stuff.
Mm.
Find a group of people who are like-minded in terms of that they also enjoy art. Do it together with your family, your child. You go with your child. She's like, how many months? And you take her to tomorrow. We go to an opening. So, it's possible. It's not that, like you can integrate it. It's not that, you need to be, you just make it not complicated. Yeah.
Would you consider also becoming a member of art associations or
You mean like you
uh,
mean for institutions? I
for
mean,
for institutions? Yeah.
they have great programs. You can do that. I think they're very specific. You have one institution, you have a club.
Yeah.
We wanted to create something where we are independent from institutions.
Yeah.
But
But for
again,
example, somebody could like become a member of, I don't know, some institutions,
yeah, like Mitglieder der Neuen Nationalgalerie.
for
Yes,
example.
I mean, yes, some have better or less better programs. Very focused on one museum. I was never a member of these. Of course, there's Schürn or Stede, very well known clubs. They have good programs. They do good stuff. They have often very, very specialist member who are very into that. I felt back in the days in Frankfurt that intimidated me too. That Schürn Circle or especially Stede Club, where already people were like very into art. But of course, everything you can do, try everything and try to find your way. It's a common force of creating new voices, of creating a new generation of collectors, which of course is already a bit there, but we
Mm.
want to push it more, and we want to give more people access into this world where maybe they don't have a friend or they don't know a gallerist already. We also did our research, like many people, and probably this will also come up when you interview the collectors, they come into the art world by coincidence. By
Yeah.
coincidence that they know somebody, and it's not very much, okay, they thought about it and then they started to do it. It's more through like a connection,
Yeah.
through like a coincidence in life, they collect art.
Right.
And it's not that you kind of say, hey, I'm really interested in art. Now I'm kind of tackling this topic. I'm getting there. You know what I mean?
So they might have had like a passion for art for longer, but then
No,
going
or by
from,
coincidence, they get their head around that. But they if you don't know somebody, if you don't have an
yeah,
access point, it's very hard to find your way, to navigate your way in this world.
yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's probably why people think it's not accessible.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a way in. As you mentioned, having somebody who can take you by the hand
Oh yeah,
makes it a
navigating.
lot easier.
And it's not as exclusive as everybody thinks. No, it's not that everybody buys on level of Richter and Picasso and from the you can start very low. Yeah.
But you need to know
Of
what to
course.
buy,
You need
right?
you need you need some rules, you need advice, you need some guidance, you need education, I would say. Doesn't mean you have to study art in your free time. But yeah, this is what we try, or what we want to try. Let's see.
Very,
Let's see.
very
Talk in a
cool.
year.
So you're actually very representative of this new generation of collectors that is, you know, up and coming as we're going through a bit of a shift in the art market as a whole. You said it's difficult times for galleries, for artists, but there are things to be excited about.
Mhm.
And I'm curious to hear what you think about that.
It's a tough time, I would say. It's a correction. It's a chance because everybody gets more humble again. If everything goes easy and everybody sells, like the previous to like for 90%, and yes, like now people have to put more effort. They have to be more creative again. And
Mhm.
I think who they want to target, who's coming next, because there's one generation who collects and then they retire, they stop, collecting because they get older, they don't travel to fairs anymore. So either the new generation takes over for maybe, but not often. I don't know, the other day, my friend told me a statistic, but, not like if your parents were collectors, this doesn't mean that you are taking this up. But and again, like the whole world gets more humble, galleries are closing. We saw that in US now, not so much like not that I know well-known names here in Germany, not. But, it's a tough market. I heard stories about, people, yeah, say that they bought something, they don't pay their bills. Like it's not easy right now. And prices are still high, costs are high. So yeah, I would say not only in the artwork, but we have to be humble. We have to say, okay, we have to start to support, also to support each other within this world, and to make something out of it. Like, things like we do, like we think about how we can support, how we can maybe bring in more brands who support maybe, you saw that Hamburger Bahnhof had, like the Chanel
Chanel.
Fondation sponsoring the exhibition recently. And, things like that will hopefully be more brands supporting artists, maybe even as brand ambassadors. That's what we also want to do, right? We want to. I mean, I did fundraising. We did it together for on the fun side. Why can't we do it on the art market level, where we have where we actually connect the business world with the art world, not only on the personal level that we bring business people into art collecting, but also on the higher level of companies supporting,
Yeah.
institutions with sponsorship, but also, having sponsoring models. We need to come up with like a way how companies can be placed in exhibitions, for example, in museums, in a better way. Have maybe, artists being brand ambassadors in a good way so it fits their view and so on. Yeah.
So you're saying there's an opportunity for innovation and creativity.
Yes.
That's very cool. Final few questions.
Yeah.
What's the last artwork you purchased?
The la- Fully, which is from Liste. It's a Turkish photographer, and recently Raoul Weich. Yeah, that's
Okay.
actually the recent one.
Who's one artist or several, I know it's hard to choose, that you don't own yet, but you are excited about and you're following closely?
Sophie Reinhold, Henning Straßburger. Yeah, I think that's
They're on
it.
your radar.
Yeah,
Cool. How would you describe your collection in one word?
colorful, emotional, col- collage. I would say. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, lots of collages.
Very
A
nice.
few.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Noticed that too. And who is one collector you look up to?
If they have shoes. I really love Steffen Hildebrand's collection in Leipzig. Da geht to Kunsthallen. I Yeah, I think that's the one. He has really good names.
Is this collection open to the public?
Yeah, they do. They do. to us, I think.
Okay, synopsis. Very cool. Thank you. Really
You're
enjoyed it.
welcome. Thank you. And yeah, looking forward to hear all your podcasts.
I'm Antonia, and this was The Collector's Corner. If you enjoyed this episode, please share, subscribe, and follow. I would love to hear from you. You can reach me on social media or on the podcast website, thecollectorscornerpodcast.com. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time.